Beth.
Right. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Um, I don't know a whole lot about horses, so I'm really excited to learn more and get to know more about you, your sanctuary, and the documentary coming out.
Cool.
So have you always been very passionate about horse advocacy?
I have, yeah, since I was tiny. I lived in the country in England, and there was a kind of a woods at the back of my house, and I used to go exploring, and there were some fields with horses in them, and I used to sit on the fence and try and get the horses to come up to me and give them an apple and stuff. I was just obsessed with horses from when I was little, and I kind of grew up in a time where horses were a lot on children's TV. There were just a lot of shows that included horses. And so I kind of grew up watching all of those and loving them and reading books about horses. I read all these, um, oh God, what is her name? Marguerite Henry wrote this book about Mustangs and other things about horses on oh God, I can't even think this morning. I've been working since 5 this morning, fundraising for two more horses to come. So I'm a little kind of like off track. But yes, I loved horses from a really early age. And my mom used to drop me at a local riding stables where I helped out. And it was just my happy place.
I love that. I love that. So then, what inspired you to start Skydog Ranch and Sanctuary and kind of make that your mission in life?
For some reason, I guess it had been shown to me on Facebook or something. Someone was trying to rescue a Mustang and I donated for it. And then when I met my husband, it's kind of how my husband and I got to know each other because I would kind of see him and tell him about this horse I was trying to help rescue, and he would offer to help as well. And we bought our first house together in Malibu, and it had stables. I had a few horses of my own by then, but we started rescuing, and that was why there's a kind of a line in the movie where I come to him one day and said, "We're going to need a bigger ranch," and that's what led to me buying the 9,000 acre property up in Oregon, where most of our horses live. There's herds of wild horses and wild donkeys out there. So yeah, it just became such a passion. I always thought, well, I'm just going to rescue. I had this dream to kind of rescue 75 horses and then just watch them get old and take care of them and just kind of have a ranch and have some horses. But it really took on a life of its own. And then it got so much support from people. And our social media just kept growing, especially in the pandemic. I think people didn't want to sit and watch the news, and everyone was kind of scared and stuck in their house. And I think it was people's way of getting out into nature because they could watch videos of us, ironically, releasing wild horses back into the wide open spaces. And I think it kind of helped them. And then they formed a community, and the followers are amazing with each other. They kind of start all these little sort of offshoots of Skydog Sanctuary social media. And it just grew, and then the more people supported us, the more horses we could take. So it's just continued to grow, and now we have over 300 horses and donkeys between the Oregon sanctuary and here in Malibu. And then now we have a new ranch up in Santa Ynez where we'll have more horses. So yeah, it's been more successful and more well supported than I ever thought it could be. And it's such a joy for me because it's an amazing community of people that we have volunteers come here every day, and it's just a joy meeting them and seeing them. They're such an amazing group of women that could be doing anything with their mornings, but they're here picking up poop and stroking horses and helping us rescue. So yeah, it's been amazing. I feel really, really grateful and blessed, not only to kind of figure out what my passion is in life, but then to get to live it is really meaningful to me. And I'm sober as well, which so my sobriety is really important to me. And there's a lot in kind of recovery groups about being of service, and that's important to me. So I feel like I am being of service to the animals we rescue and to the people that follow us who really get a lot of joy out of watching what we do.
That's amazing. That
Thank
really is.
you.
Um, And with the documentary coming out, titled Blue Zeus, what is the focus of the documentary?
Yeah, well, the crazy thing is, I've been doing this a few years and rescuing horses. We mostly rescue horses from either the slaughter pipeline, who are going to ship to slaughter to Mexico or Canada, and also from the Bureau of Land Management corrals. So they're wild horses that have been rounded up, but we usually take seniors and special needs. So they're usually horses that they were about to euthanize that we take instead and do their vet care and everything. But I did follow some photographers who go out and photograph wild horses. And there was this one horse called Blue Zeus who lived out in the Red Desert in Wyoming. And he was the only horse I kind of like let myself a little fall in love with. I felt like he epitomized everything that a wild Mustang is. You know, he was a blue roan pinto with high white socks, and he had these black scars all over his body and a super long mane over his face. And he was just something, he looked like something out of Game of Thrones or something. He was kind of a mythical looking creature living out wild in Wyoming. And he had a lot of very colorful mares and they had colorful babies. And so I would see him over the years while I was rescuing horses from kind of terrible situations. He was out there living wild and free. And it kind of inspired me, you know, that while he and his family were wild and free, that's kind of what we were fighting for, to advocate for more horses to live free on public lands. And so it was kind of heartbreaking in 2020 when I saw that his herd was slated for removal. And it just kind of broke my heart. And I was watching there at some advocacy groups that go out and take photographs of the roundups. And on the day that he and his family got rounded up, there was a series of photographs. And I just was like staring at them, thinking, like, I couldn't believe that he and his family were now in a government holding pen. And so it was during the pandemic, and I was just trying to find where they were, what facility they'd been taken to, whether there was going to be an adoption event, whether I could possibly rescue some of them so that I could. I first of all just wanted to rescue Blue Zeus, but then when we finally did rescue Blue Zeus. We went to an adoption event and I paid $25 for him, which is how much these horses cost. And brought him home with some of the other old guys that were at the event, the old stallions. And he came back, and I just felt he used to stand by himself a lot and just stare, like, look at the horizon. And I always felt like he was looking for his family. So I just thought, well, everyone else is like learning to cook banana bread or take up art in the pandemic or do different things. And I thought, well, I'll go on this mission to try and find his family and then bring them back to him. And I was shocked because I thought maybe we'd find one mare, because there was like 2,500 horses inside a men's high security prison in Colorado, which is where they were kept. So it was quite the kind of weird thing to first of all be going into this men's prison, trying to look for these horses amongst hundreds and hundreds of other horses, then finding them and bringing them back and reuniting them with Blue Zeus. But when the production company, so the Dodo is this kind of social media, um,
Mm.
yeah, what is it called? Platform. And they have a lot of followers, and they've often covered some of the stories that we've done. And they decided to they usually make really short form things, but they did a 7-minute thing for Christmas Day on Blue Zeus and his family. And I guess the production company that eventually made this film saw it and were like, this should be a movie, you know? And they, as well as weaving Blue Zeus's story, and there's kind of ongoing jeopardy of like, am I going to find Blue Zeus? Am I going to find his family? Are we going to reunite them? There's also these incredible interviews with really all the stakeholders in the issue of wild horses. So they talk to the Bureau of Land Management people, you know, the man that run the facility where Blue Zeus was, and the man that runs the facility near where we are, and the helicopter company that chases these horses into the traps. They talk to ranchers and organizations in Wyoming that are cattle lobbyists, and then photographers that knew Blue Zeus and advocates. And it really gives the most incredible overview of the wild horse issue, but in a good way. You know, it doesn't feel like a sort of lecture or a lot of talking heads. There's a kind of really amazing love story going on throughout the film, culminating in the reunion and rewilding of Blue Zeus and his family. But at the same time, there's a lot of information in there. And it's kind of happening at such a timely, it's a really good opportunity because public lands are kind of under threat more than they ever have been in terms of privatizing them or continuing to use them to make money off, which, there's been so many examples of that. I mean, wild horses have never really been protected since Richard Nixon in 1971 brought in the Wild Horse and Free Roaming Horse Act that protects them. But since then, there really hasn't been an administration that has done much to kind of help them or look at their sort of cause and their plight. But I guess with public lands being so under threat recently, it's been really interesting to sort of shine a spotlight on that at a timely, opportunity to kind of maybe realize that these horses are living on our public lands and they are an amazing asset to this country. They are such a kind of symbol of the Wild West and a living symbol of the Wild West. And so it really is an amazing story about, things really haven't changed much since then with cattle barons and land grabs and, greed and wanting to kind of turn our public lands into drill sites. And they make a lot of money from extractive mining, and the government makes a lot of money from logging. So they're all things that are suddenly relevant recently, whereas before the wild horse issue was quite a small one. It's become a much bigger one, I guess, because they're more under threat. So
You cover a lot in the documentary.
yeah, we do cover a lot in the documentary, and it's hard to ever. All the films I'd ever seen made about the wild horse issue were kind of they were very boring and very dry. And I think that the thing that has made this a little more watchable, and it is a very emotional to watch. And I've been to so many screenings recently at different film festivals, and people start crying from the beginning. And I'm like, oh my gosh, nothing's happened yet. It's just, they'll cry at just the beauty of these horses because they are amazing. And it's very unusual to have had, pictures and video of that herd out in the wild, then actual video of them being rounded up, pictures of them in the BLM holding pens at the adoption event. And it's funny because a lot of this, I was filming it just on my phone. But I didn't know what I was filming it for. I was just documenting it as I went along, but it was so lucky that we had all of that, even the hauls of the horses and the reunions and everything. So I don't think that'll ever happen again because, it just was in a time with the pandemic going on where we all had more time on our hands and we were all on this kind of mission and this adventure. And so it got documented really amazingly. And I'm so grateful to all the people that go out on our public lands and document these wild horses because we wouldn't know these families. And the real theme of this documentary is, the BLM always tries to just categorize these animals as livestock and brand them and give them a number. But I think that the heart of this film is trying to really demonstrate in a beautiful way what sentient beings these are and what deep bonds they have with their family. And, that day that the helicopters go up and separate them, they never see their families again. So I'm really trying to portray the horses, from people that have studied them on the range that understand the amazing social nature of these wild horses and how they band together and the bonds they form with their family. So that's a kind of more heartfelt part of it. And at the same time, there's the other side of that. And why is this happening? And what can we do to stop it or help the horses, And I think raising awareness and educating people is actually 50% of our mission statement as a nonprofit. So I kind of at the beginning made 50% rescuing the horses and 50% raising awareness and educating. So it's kind of why I've worked so hard to promote this film and go to all the film festivals and hope for a distribution deal and hope it ends up on a streaming channel so that more people can find out about it.
I'm definitely excited to see it. And I know it's
Awesome.
coming to Newport Beach Film Festival this week.
Yeah.
Um, You mentioned wanting to get distribution and get it on a streaming platform. So after Newport Beach Film Festival, where can we catch it?
I don't know right now, actually. Like Newport Beach has been something we've been working towards because it's a really big festival. And I'm so excited because we had one screening and then that sold out and they put on a second one. And then that sold out and they put on a third screening on the closing night, which was really exciting to me because I felt like it does show, there are a lot of people out there that want to see this movie. So I'm hoping for some good news after Newport Beach, and there's discussions and talks, and we're excited about some things that are possibly happening. So hopefully we will have more news on that. But we're just trying to get beyond. We've got three screenings now at Newport, and then getting beyond that, and then really sort of locking in something for this movie to be seen on a much wider audience. That's our dream.
Well, I'm sure you're not going to have too much trouble with that.
I
So,
hope so.
um, but amazing. I wish you the best with getting distribution, and I can't
Thank
wait to
you,
see
Beth.
it. Um,
Thank you. I really look forward to you seeing it and telling us what you think.
I definitely will for sure.
Perfect.
But thank you so much for chatting. This
No,
is
thank you. Really appreciate it. Have a good day.
you too. You too.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.